Okay. Today is December 12th, 2014. My name is Edna Sussman. I'm a reference librarian here at the Half Hollow Hills Community Library in Dix Hills, New York. We are interviewing David Solomons, a World War II and Korean veteran, as part of our Veterans Testimonial Project and in collaboration with the Library of Congress's Veterans History Project. Thank you so much, David, for your service and for participating in our project today.
My pleasure.
Thank you. David, where and when were you born?
Born in Brooklyn in August 26, 1929.
And who were your parents? What were their names and what did they do, your parents?
My father was a beautician, and my mother was a home care.
And what were their names?
Matilda Solomons, and it was Matilda Pfeffer before that. And my father, of course, is Samuel Solomons.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any siblings?
Yes.
And what were their names and genders?
Hetty or Henrietta Solomons, and that's it.
Was she? Did she ever serve in the military?
No.
And what were you doing before you entered the service?
Before I entered service, I was working for the Attorney General of the state of New York.
Oh, in what capacity?
A court reporter.
So you went to school to study that?
Yes.
After high school?
After high school, right.
How long a program was that?
Well, it took me a year, and then I was teaching it for years after that. I taught for 19 years night school when I was a court reporter in Supreme Court.
Wow. Now, which branch of the military did you serve?
The Army.
The Army. And did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
You were drafted. What happened when you departed for training camp and during your early days of training? Where was the training camp, first of all?
New Jersey. What's the name of that? Oh, what's the name?
Fort something?
No.
Oh.
It started, Dix.
Oh,
Camp Dix.
Camp
Fort
Dix.
Dix.
Fort Dix. Okay. Now, what happened there? How was it, the training? How long was it, and what did they train you to do?
Really nothing. What happened, first we went to Camp Devon in Massachusetts, and then that's for logistics and everything else and so forth, and tests they give you. And then they sent me to Dix, and we did basic.
Sorry, what year was that, you recall?
51.
51.
And unusual thing happened. You know, we took on a 2-mile hike in new boots. So there was a group of us that had blisters. So they sent me in. I always pick on me, but anyway, they sent me in to get the sick book, which I didn't even know what it was. And I get inside, and there's a Korean man sitting at a desk there and playing with a typewriter, trying to get a ribbon in. So I said to him, "You're never going to get that ribbon in that way." So he says to me, and he was a sergeant, "Could you do it?" I said, "Of course." So he says, "Come around here." It was a Royal Standard, and it took me like a minute and a half to put the ribbon in for him. So he says to me, "What are you, a typewriter repairman?" I said, "No, I'm a typist. Don't go away." And with that, he runs inside, speaks to the first sergeant, comes out. He says, "I want you to go back to your company, tell the sergeant that you're supposed to come here in Class A's. You are now the clerk typist of this."
Oh my gosh.
And I ended up as clerk typist, filling out the papers.
That's great. Do you recall your instructors from basic training, or did that stop then once you moved
With
into
sergeants, well, the regular sergeants, you know.
What were they like?
Some of them are very nice. And they taught you crazy things like how to cut your toenails, and they waste time. And then we got into the rifles, and they showed us how to zero them in, etc. And then we went out to the rifle range and different ranges that we went to.
Even though you were going to, the hope was that you were going to stay as the clerk typist in the office or not?
No, not. I was going to get transferred off.
Oh.
I had an MOS, Military Occupational Specialty, of, I think it was 1270, which was a high speed. And if you went to school, where we went after that, to learn how to write, what do you call it, not Pittman, but the other one.
Not Morse code?
No, not Morse code. Shorthand.
Oh, shorthand.
So they were 12, 13. I was supposed to be a teacher there when I got there. And they said they don't recognize the machine, and I had to go to class.
What did you think you were going to be teaching?
Court reporting, the machine,
Oh, I
you know, a
see.
stenograph. And I had trouble with this Navy, not a Navy, Army whack, captain, lieutenant, whatever. And she wanted me to go to school. And I did. And I wasn't learning anything because that would confuse my court reporting outlines. Anyway, while I was there, I get a call to go to finance department in Class A's. And I went up there, and it seems that they were having a court martial from somewhere, and they wanted to know if I would cover it for them. And I told them I need another person. They said they'll get somebody else. And with that, I did the court martial for this, I think he was a major. And he said to me after it was all finished, and he loved when I was finished with the court martial, he says, how would you like to get permanent station here? And I had a friend in, a different department, and I went to see him. And he says, I got something better for you, and I don't know what it is. I said, what are you talking about? He says, Washington, D.C., but we don't know what it is. So then he asked his captain to come out and talk to me, and asked me certain questions like, can you keep your mouth shut? Can you do this, that, and the other thing? And I told him yes. And he said, okay, and they cut papers for me to go to Washington, D.C. And that's how I ended up in Washington, D.C. on this joint task force.
Oh, tell us about that. What was that about? Who was a part of it?
Well, I was assigned to this Navy captain and to do other things in there. And it was Joint Task Force 132. There was one before that. You probably saw it on TV. It was called King Shot in the same area where they had boats anchored in the lagoon. And they blew up H-bomb.
Oh.
And this was a hydrogen bomb. So that's when most of them went out. I had a girlfriend by then in Washington, D.C., so I didn't want to go
Go where?
out to the Marshall Islands.
Oh.
So what I did is I volunteered to stay behind and work there. And there was one officer who was aide-de-camp to the captain, and he got sick. And that's where I got that thing where I worked as the only one. We had something called Twix at that time, which is what went back and forth. And I got a Twix saying, can I handle J4 division and everything concerned? And I had already been working there for a while. And I said, absolutely, this is to the general. So he appointed me to work the part, J4.
Doing what?
everything that went out, money, it cost money. Like they had a typhoon in the Marshall Islands, and they blew away one of the Quonset huts. I had to go find a Quonset hut, have it taken apart and sent there. We had cameras, one made by Bell and Howell, which were very expensive, and they were supposed to, when the bomb went off, take photos and slide back into a long tunnel, and then they would see what happened close up. They never found one of them.
The cameras?
Cameras. They all, when it went off, it wiped out. They didn't ever had a chance to fall back into the hole. So they were gone. They never got it. But when they sent, what do you call it, a helicopter over the area where the bomb was set off, it was on a 50-foot tall thing, and the island was sort of like Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And the pictures we saw immediately, they never showed them on the ordinary, but if they put it on Manhattan Island, you would have had two separate islands with a 40-foot depth of in between.
You mean they were smaller than Manhattan?
No. What happened is Manhattan was here, and if the bomb went off right in the middle,
Oh.
it would be two islands.
Oh, I see, separating them.
Right.
Got it.
That's how powerful it
Wow,
was.
wow. So, did you receive some sort of specialized training to be able to?
None.
None.
They just put me in and do it.
Did you use your court reporting skills at all?
Only, well, for a while I was using it with the captain. He was dictating to me his letters that he wanted to go out. And then he said to me, you know, you're sitting there and you're like pulling the words out of my mouth when I look at you. You're sitting, waiting. So I apologized, and he said, how about if I write everything out and you just have to type the letters up? So everything became much easier for me.
Oh, good, huh? How did you adapt to military life? The regimen, the barracks, the food, the social life?
Food was great. We were right next to the Pentagon.
Oh.
Okay? And she would always come out, the nutritionist, and check our mess hall. But once a month, they had to give us sea rations. They had to get rid of these sea rations. And we would go because we knew the, Air Force men who would worked in our building, which was called J4, I think. Anyway, no, Tempo U, I'm sorry. Tempo U building.
Was it part of the Pentagon complex?
No,
Oh,
that was on 12th and Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened then is when I first got there, I wasn't allowed to pick up anything which I didn't have a clearance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never told anybody what the clearance was that I was waiting for or anything like that. But recently, in some books I got here, he writes up, was it W.E.B. Griffin?
uh-huh.
He talks about a Q clearance, which was one above top secret,
It's called Q, you said?
a Q clearance.
A Q.
And under the Atomic Energy Act of 1946, that's where it started. So everything that came top secret, everything came across my desk.
Wow. And you couldn't talk about it to anybody?
No, I never did, but just the captain, if it pertained to the Navy, I would put it on his desk, in his income, coming in thing. Otherwise, I shipped it to any other department that I felt wanted it.
Wow. So, how many years were you in the service?
2 years exactly.
Exactly. And where did you serve? Did you have different places where you served? Or?
Yes. after New Jersey, I went, I think it was Illinois, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where, it's Camp Benjamin Harrison.
Oh,
I think it's out west. And that was where the school was.
what school? For,
For typists, for,
oh, so you were
Just like-
teaching there?
no, I never
Oh,
did,
oh.
because this Navy, this Army WAC, she was a lieutenant, said they're not recognizing the machine.
Oh, right.
So I had to go to class. But I didn't like the class because it was confusing me with the using the machine.
Uh-huh.
And with that, I didn't want to go to class, et cetera, et cetera. I had trouble with that. But I got a call from the finance department. And they asked me to come in again with Class A's. And I went and I met this colonel, and he said, we're having a charge against somebody or other, and we're going to have a case go on. And would I, take the minutes? I said, I'll need another person because it'll take two if you want to get, fast transcript out of it. And he got somebody else for me to work with me, and we delivered almost daily copy each day. He got yesterday's.
Oh, wow.
So we did a good job on it.
How
And
long
he's-
did you do that?
It took about 2 weeks, I think, for the court-martial.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, he called me in and he said, how about getting stationed here permanently? I said, let me think about it, a long way from home. And with that, I went to see a friend of mine from Brooklyn. Name was, well, it doesn't matter. But I'd like to find him again. Anyway, he was in the service, the part that dealt with, people that leaving to go to different places. And her name for that, I forget what the name is. But anyway, I told him about that. He said, that's where he said, I got the perfect place, Washington, D.C. for you.
Right. Oh, he was the one.
He was the one that, yeah.
So you served, you went to Illinois and then you went to
That was
Washington?
Benjamin Harrison,
Okay. And then from there you went to
Washington, D.C.
Washington? And the rest of your service was spent there?
Yes, until I got out and got all the papers.
Uh-huh. So you didn't go abroad?
No,
Okay. And the whole time the rest of the time when you were in Washington, your duties were working with the,
Atomic Energy Commission.
oh,
And they used to send me, when I had my clearance, they would give me a package, because I was the lowest ranking man there, and bring this to so-and-so building, and I would always carry it in the right hand. It was, and now I have problems when they want to take x-rays of me. I always tell them that I was exposed during the Army to a lot of it. And since then, I had a squamous here, a squamous on the arm here, and a squamous here.
you think that's related?
Oh, it has to be the only place I get,
Wow,
But I'm living through it.
thank God. So you weren't in combat, but what kinds of friendships and camaraderie did you form while serving, and with whom?
Well, there's one fella, what's his name? I can't think of his name now. But a nice fella from Brooklyn, and we were friends, and there were other friends in the barracks. And we were a particular group, everybody that worked in JTF 132, we were all boarded together in this one building.
What does that stand for? Anything? JTF?
Joint Task Force.
Oh, okay.
And
So
it's,
you live together in the same barracks?
yes, in the same barracks.
Okay. So you haven't been in touch with anyone from that period since you
No.
left? No. How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home? They were in New York?
I just remember the name, Joe Conti.
Oh, okay,
That was the fellow that started me there.
okay. Who told you that Washington was a good
Right.
gig? Okay. How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
I usually went home almost every weekend
Oh,
because if you're in uniform, round trip was $9 and change, I forget how much. And they gave us round trip tickets. So whenever I wanted to go home for the weekend, a couple of days, and say the captain was going somewhere, he wouldn't need me, and I went home.
to New York, Brooklyn,
Yeah, to Coney Island.
Coney Island. What did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Oh, we had a day room, and there were always books there to read, and ping pong and things like that. So it was bad out, the weather, we'd stay in there. Otherwise, we'd go walking. And being in what do you call it, Washington D.C., we had a lot of places to see. There were all kind of,
Nice.
you got Lincoln's Memorial, you had the cherries blossom time and all that. So we always had things to do.
Yeah. Now, do you have any stories you'd like to share about during the war while you were on this task force? Anything that you had to relay or meetings you had that might be of interest?
Well, the Marines gave me a hard time.
Why is that?
They weren't with us, as I said before, but they had what they called a BARC, B-A-R-C, and it was like a big area. It took 4 tanks and had wheels like 18 feet high. And it went out in the ocean, and the officers went out. They had M1, the Garand M1 rifles, and they would shoot sharks.
Why?
It was fun.
Oh,
And they never wanted to clean the guns, so they threw them overboard,
oh
coming
my.
back.
Oh, my.
And they would send me a Twix. They need 10 more rifles or whatever, and ammunition and all that. That was a pain in the neck when I found out what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stop them. They were officers.
And that was kind of their recreational activity, is that it?
For them, out
them.
there.
Where were you when the war ended?
Which one?
Well, I guess Korea. Because,
Korea?
Yeah,
I was home already.
you were home already.
I had served my 2 years. When I went in, it was supposed to be for a year. And then I did 6 months, and they made it a year and a half. And then they made it 2 years. In other words, every time I thought I was getting close,
Again.
they extended it.
So when you left the military, was the war still going on?
Yes,
How did you, so you were stationed still in Washington at that point?
at the end.
At the end, when you left the service? You
Yeah.
left Washington to go home to New York by train?
Yes, no, I don't, no, I had a car with me.
Oh.
My uncle was a dealer, so whenever I wanted a car, I got a car from him. And I was taking a lot of stuff home that I had accumulated. And even a Foot Locker they told me to take all the stuff in there, so it was very easy. I store that in my daughter's house now.
Oh, okay.
She got a big house. Anyway, I drove home.
And How were you received by family and your community?
Nobody knew what I was doing about the bomb or anything.
But they
Yeah.
knew you were in the service. That's
Yes,
about it. That's
well, my mother had a lot of problems
why is that?
because I was always home, and of course, when I got home, I didn't put the uniform on. I was wearing civvies, and a few people that lived on the same block. My son is in the army and over somewhere Europe, wherever, and your son is still walking around here,
I see.
like
Yeah.
and we couldn't tell him what I was doing.
What you were doing. Did your family know, sort of?
No, I didn't tell anybody.
Wow. Did you have to sign something to agree to be a confidentiality type agreement?
I think I did to a major.
Uh-huh.
And then same major, when I was getting out, he started telling me if I re-upped, as they called it, that I can go to anywhere I wanted on this planet. Except, and he mentioned some places that would not take Jewish men.
Really?
Yes, he gave me the names, and he says you can pick any other country you want, and we'll send you there.
But you didn't want to.
I said, no, I'm going back to work for the Attorney General in the state of New York.
So it was other countries that wouldn't accept Jewish soldiers, Americans? Is that it?
Yeah, it was a couple of countries, I forget which ones.
Wow.
But he was, up to the front with me, and I said, I'm not interested in staying in the service.
So how was the readjustment to civilian life?
I had no problem
No
with
problem. Have you remained in contact with or reunited with any fellow veterans?
that. Yeah, I was looking through the phone book, and the fellow that I spoke about before, his name was Joe Conti. I remember it now. And I
Who
went
gave
through
you
the
the
telephone book, and I was calling every Joe Conti. I got some relatives of his, but I never spoke to him.
Oh, too bad.
Well, it's one of those things. Oh, and also I had friends that were in the service at the same time I was. In fact, one's coming here to,
To visit you?
no, for you,
Oh,
Morton.
oh yeah. He's
Lawrence.
Yes, when he
Yeah,
gets
he
back
told
from
me.
Florida. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so he was in when you were in,
He was in when I was in, right?
and you knew each other.
Oh, of course. His parents and my parents used to double date.
Oh,
That's how far back we go.
were you stationed close by to each other?
No, not really.
But you kept in touch after.
Well, we were meeting every time we went home together. Not
Nice.
together, but
So you lived nearby
we lived very close.
then?
Then, yeah.
Then, yeah.
And now we do too.
That's wonderful.
He moved into the Greens where I am.
Nice.
So
Are you a member of any veterans organizations?
I was.
Oh, which one?
I got papers here somewhere. Which one?
American Legion or?
It was American Legion, and it was in Oceanside. That's the only thing I remember about it.
Okay.
And they had card games and things like that.
Uh-huh. And you still do that? No.
No.
What have you done since separating from the military? It was all with the Attorney General's office? Or?
No. It wasn't all with the Attorney General. I got tired of working for him, and in that area of Manhattan, there was, what do you call it? I gotta get the right name. I can't think of it now. Gee.
It'll come.
Yeah, but there was another state job. Oh, the grand jury.
Oh,
And I went there and I got a job with the grand jury in Frank Hogan's office. I don't know if you remember him.
no.
Yeah, he was the boss there. And I worked there 10 years
As a court reporter?
as a court reporter for the grand jury.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And then I went on, I moved out to the island after 10 years, and when I moved out, I got into district court in Nassau County, and then I got into, well, traffic court and all those courts that they ran, and I took the test for the Supreme Court. And first time I took it, it comes out every 4 years, open competitive. And I studied for the second time, which was 4 years later, and I came out number one on the list.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive.
So I got appointed out here in Suffolk under Judge Cromedy. He's still around, I think.
Really? And when did you retire from that type of work?
Well, I was before. I have a what do you call it, artificial valve, and that had to be about 15 years ago.
Ah, wow.
And originally they told me that's good for 20 years. Now they say it's good for 50. I said, I'll take it if they'll give it to me.
Nice. Good. Let's hope.
Right.
How do you feel your experiences in the military affected your life?
Not at all, except when I'm talking with other people that were in. In fact, there's a fellow that came over to the house, had a very interesting story too, but he said he won't come in to tell anybody about it.
Okay.
But he told me about it.
Oh, okay. What are some life lessons you learned from military service?
Other than how to cut my nails. They did teach me that. I don't use it. And I became not an expert, but whatever, with the rifle. And also, when I was in Washington, I carried a .45 when we went to carry documents to the Pentagon in the war room, and I had to take a .45 out. So they sent me to the FBI range where they hold you back and things jump up and you shoot or not. You have read about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did that, and I carried a weapon all the time because I was a peace officer in the grand jury, not the grand jury, the Supreme Court.
Uh-huh. So you had to?
No,
Oh.
it was voluntary.
Oh. I mean, to carry a weapon?
Yes.
What would that have been, what would you have used it for? If anything happened in the court?
Yes, I supposedly, but I carried it all the time. I wouldn't leave it home until I had a little incident with it. My daughter we had a 3-story house.
In Washington?
No, in Oceanside.
Uh-huh.
And they taught you never leave the gun unloaded and keep it near you when you go to sleep. And I woke up and I heard something on the stairs coming up. So I may believe I was sleeping again, and I reached over, I picked up the gun, and I yelled, "Who's there?" And my daughter yells back, "It's me, Daddy, I'm coming up to get something out of your shower."
Oh,
Shampoo, I guess it was.
yeah.
And after that, I sold the guns.
Really? Wow. Good
It
thing.
was enough,
You're right.
for a number of years anyway.
How do you feel your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, now I'm getting all kind of various stories about the waterboarding, etc., and everything is coming out about the FBI, what they did. And I don't know, I have no opinion whether, after 10/11, whatever it was.
9/11?
9/11, whether they right what they're doing or did. And it's coming out, and we'll see what happens in the long run.
How do you feel about, this is a funny question, but how do you feel about war in general?
I hate it.
Yeah.
No matter who's fighting. It's, I feel that if everybody sits down and discusses their problems, it can be settled. Like Iran and Iraq had a long war, like we had a long civil war. They had a long war, the two of them, countries, and nothing came of it when it finally ended.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who might view or hear this interview?
I would say, like in Israel, I know the women have an option of the service as a soldier or being a police officer.
Oh, I didn't know
But-
that. I thought it was compulsory, the military service.
Well, yeah, but they had the choice.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. And I feel, it's worthwhile. You learn so much
In the military.
in the military.
Yeah. Is there any kind of message you'd like to leave for young people who might watch this?
Yes. Anytime there's an argument, get the people together, sit down and discuss it. I'm sure that they can come up with, something that make it even and
A
or
solution.
whatever
Solution.
the solution. And same thing with war.
Is there anything that you did that you might have regretted while you were serving?
No, I enjoyed every day of it.
That's great. Anything maybe we haven't discussed or something you'd like to add? Any story you'd like to add?
Another story? Well, I told you these stories about the blisters and all that,
Yes,
and all
yes.
that. That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your service. Thank you very much for sharing with us today.
And I
Really
thank you
appreciate it.
for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. I think it's important everybody hears what you have to say.
Right.
Thank you very much.
And thank you.